Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa, an expert in nothing, which qualifies me to discuss the news. This is a conservative-leaning podcast, but I do take facts from both sides. I usually will go by a speech that a politician makes that is viewable for everyone, and printed materials of the events going on between politicians. If it makes sense, it makes sense. And I'll use either party to do that. I'm not a MAGA. I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. I am a federalist, which makes me a constitutionalist. Democrats can be federalists. Liberals can be federalists. They can. If we stick to the talking points and meaning, it's the important part of our Constitution. I don't take that lightly, and I do express my opinions. My show, Bob in New York. But I try to keep it as unbiased as I can, though, again, I've said this in other shows that I've done here. Democrats are making it hard. Now, the Republicans sometimes go out there and do a pretty good job of convincing people otherwise. But today, April 11th, 2026, this is episode 51. My playlists list all my shows, my shorts, videos, not the shorts I wear. My podcasts are all available on my will be right up over, it will be right up over here during my edited piece. But if not, it's at youtube.com at John, John, Fatkat. And you can just Google John, Fatkat, and it'll take me right to news. Take you right to News with a View. All right. Today we're going to be talking about the Iran negotiations that are starting. We'll also discuss about more fraud and what's going on in Minnesota. Of course, California has its own issues, and I'll discuss that. The Democrats remind voters why they voted for President Trump and an all-red House and Senate. So they keep reminding us why they did that, why voters did that. And a quick little thing, I don't normally get into crime and things like that, except when I feel that it's so outrageous that it needs to just be addressed. And that happened today in New York City, a machete attack on a subway platform, seriously injuring 3 people. The suspect has been shot dead. So we'll get into that and why it's important that we start really looking at crime. And all right, so the Iran has begun negotiations, of course, being headed up by J.D. Vance, which might be the biggest indicator of how much power President Trump is giving his vice president. Of course, we know that this is because more than likely J.D. Vance is going to run for president in 2028. So having this under his belt, it also distanced Trump from it. The negotiations is a brilliant tactic, I think, by President Trump, because if it fails due to Iran not keeping to the terms that got them to that table, well, what do you think President Trump can do next? So this also allows a cooling off period, which is important for both sides. Iran, I mean, it seems like many liberal news outlets are suggesting that Iran has the upper hand in the U.S. negotiations. I don't know how they can make that observation. I don't know how they could even say it or even think it. The liberal media obviously does not get that Iran is defeated by any definition of the word. Their military, for the most part, has been degraded by about 80%, 90%. Do they have missiles? Yes, they have missiles. Do they have drones? Yes, they have drones. Do they have a navy? No, not to speak of. Speedboats that can lay mines, but believe me, they'll be blown out of the water. You know, it's amazing at the swipe that the media, liberal media, takes at the United States. At every turn where they can try to undermine the President of the United States, the resolve of our military, they take. You don't have to approve of the war in Iran. That's your right. But you cannot honestly say that the actions that the United States and Israel took was unprovoked. They had no reason to do this. You can't say this. You could say, hey, we could have tried negotiations. We could have tried to do this. You could say that, but it hasn't worked. 47 years of appeasement. It ended. We have Democrats sitting in office who are openly supportive of Iran. Instead of doing their job of doing budgets, funding ICE, funding border protection, they're more worried about protecting a terrorist state that has killed they murdered millions of people around the world. And not just the United States labeling the biggest state sponsor of terrorism. Lots of countries are on the record stating that, even Muslim countries. So this idea that the Democrats keep putting out there that, you know, this is an unpopular war. Well, it might be unpopular with them, and it might be unpopular to some people. But I think the majority of Americans know. Now, are we happy about paying higher fuel costs? Are we happy about inflation going up? Are we happy that it's going to cost us more in the short term? No. No. I see the reason why, you know, we did it and what the consequences in the short term will be. And people have the right to say, hey, we don't get any of our oil from there. Why is our gasoline and fuel prices and everything else going up? Why is diesel fuel $6 a gallon? They have every right to ask that question, and they deserve an answer. And I, being even, a staunch supporter of the conservative movement, those are valid questions that could be asked by the citizens of the United States. So I have no problems with those questions being asked of our politicians, but I want a truthful answer. And the small price that we're paying to rid Iran as a threat to the free world is well worth it. And it is a gift to the Democrats who are insisting they're going to win 2026 and the White House in 2028. It is a gift to them by the Republicans, by Trump, if he has defanged Iran. It can't be looked any other way. So, all right. I think we all can watch the news and all see what's going on. And you could watch your MSN now, and you could watch your NBC and ABC and your Jimmy Kimmel and everything else. And instead of looking at the facts. And that's okay. You're allowed to do that. All right. More on the fraud that's going on. Of course, in Minnesota, it gets the highlight because Walz and Ellison are the poster child of fraud right now. The House Oversight Committee over the alleged Minnesota fraud last month on March 4th, and it's not alleged. There is fraud. It's not alleged. I'm taking this out of a clip where they said alleged. It's not alleged. They have convicted people and have indicted people on fraud. So this is not alleged fraud. This is fraud. Attorney General Keith Ellison discussed with Representative Latifah Simon of a Democrat from California, how the Trump administration has actually made it more difficult to investigate fraud. You're kidding me, right? That Ellison would come out and say this after he met with 13 people in private meetings, accepted money for his campaign from fraudsters. And his excuse is, I didn't know they were committing fraud. The Attorney General had no idea. Yet his agency was contacted about what state workers were saying was very suspicious and needed to be looked into. And it was only actually the Biden administration and Merrick Garland who sought federal indictments. And I said before, right is right, wrong is wrong. I took my hat off to the Biden administration for going after them. What bothered me more about the Biden administration was you didn't hear any of this. And you had a governor of a state where there was tens of billions of dollars in fraud going on, who was selected to be the vice president of the United States. And no one told Harris about this. No one mentioned this to Harris. Their administrations never said, hey, By the way, you might want to take this guy off your short list here. And my belief is that they knew darn well and that Tim Walz would have to resign as vice president, and then Harris would really get to pick who she wanted. Yep. Yep. And if you don't think that's the truth, then you don't understand politics. So Latifah Simon, said it's and Anea Presley, of Democrat from Massachusetts. Reckless and godless policies. And Tim Walz shines a spotlight on the generational childhood trauma caused by ICE's cruelty. Well, let me tell you something, folks. When any parent is arrested in the United States, in most states, if there's children involved, Child Protection Services steps in. The courts step in. If that child is with a parent who gets arrested, that child is separated from that parent and held till a responsible party can take custodial responsibility for that minor. That happens in every arrest when a child is involved with an adult. This has nothing to do with ICE. It has to do with procedures set in place by states. Minnesota has those policies. That if an adult is arrested, the child is separated from that adult at that particular moment in time. Is that child scarred by that? I'm sure they are. But it has nothing to do with ICE. It has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with state laws involving minors. Minnesota has those laws. So this idea that ICE is causing all this, no, Minnesota, change your laws. Say a child can't be separated from an adult, so we lock them up in a jail too, right? Because that's what would happen. You don't let someone go, oh, they got a kid, gotta let them go. That doesn't happen. So you could see the ridiculousness that these politicians like Presley, like Simon, are making. And they know it. They know they are liars. Very few in the media will call these people out because now you're a racist. Oh, you're a racist. What do you have against brown people? Yeah, so this is the bull crap that these people use. So the idea that I say somehow the President Trump is behind the problem of fraud in Minnesota and that ICE applying our laws on criminals is causing children to be traumatized is ridiculous. And again, it's the Democrats playing the victim card. Instead of saying, yeah, they broke the law. Let's hope everything works out for them. Let's hope they get a lawyer. This is the lies of the Democrats. Now, there's impeachment hearings going against Minnesota Governor Tim Kaine and Attorney General Keith Ellison. That will officially begin next week on April 15th. Funny date, but that's... The impeachment hearings, which are centered around the conduct of both Democratic politicians regarding the state's entitlement scam scandal, could bring a trial in the state Senate. I don't think it will ever happen. But by the Republicans in Minnesota, they're doing their due diligence. Now, of course, Tim Walz said he's not running for governor again. But it doesn't matter. The fraud that went on. It is confirmed that we have impeachment hearings next week. In the Rules Committee, legislators said in a video. So keep tuned in for what they say. I don't know. I just say it's politics, and that's what they're going to do. But, I mean, they absolutely have a reason to. This isn't something that's made up or innuendo or I heard it through 14 different people. You know, this person said that person who told that person who told that person. They have actual proof. And they have emails from state employees saying there's something going on here. It needs to be looked at. And they were allegedly dismissed. So they're going to impeach him for corrupt conduct in office due to concealing or permitting others to conceal widespread fraud within the Minnesota state administrative programs, despite repeated warnings, audits, reports, and public indicators of systematic abuse. So this is going to be a hard one for them to dodge. And a lot of this now that's coming up in California and in other states, Ohio and Illinois, there was alleged fraud in New York, but that's been disproved so far. And my feeling is that fraud in any state, I don't care if it's a blue state, I don't care if it's a red state, that's a theft from every taxpayer in America, be them Republican, Democrat, Independent, Socialist, Communist, Progressives, or I don't care who's in office. It's a theft from all of us, and it should be investigated. Anyone have a problem with that? I certainly don't. And I don't think you'll find any reasonable person on either side of the political spectrum that would say otherwise. All right. In California, the hospice scheme that defrauded Medi-Cal out of $267 million, that's the tip of the iceberg, folks. Tip of the iceberg. California Attorney General Bob Bontas press conference regarding a massive hospice fraud scheme. And he announced that over $267 million was defrauded from California taxpayers by straw owners using shell companies, payment apps, and cryptocurrency. Now, of course, California's throwing in the cryptocurrency because, of course, President Trump has started a cryptocurrency. So, they're just throwing that in, but they were moving money by the payment apps and crypto. All you have to say is payment apps because everything else is Venmo, PayPal, all these ones, are all payment apps. You can go to Walmart and pay your bills through a Walmart app at the store. So, but the California is now coming under the spotlight for that. Now, in my other podcast yesterday or the day before, I said that Democrats who come out and say, I'm not a progressive, I'm not a socialist, I'm not any of these things, I'm a moderate, I'm a by-the-book person, and I said, it just lies. And I just picked Schumer as one of these people who was a moderate. In his day, he can get things done. He knew how to play both sides of the aisle. He got things done. If you got something jammed up in the Senate and something and it was close, you'd work a deal out with Schumer. And, deals were struck. There were compromises. There was bipartisanship. And now he has gone completely over to the progressive side. If it's gay, if it's murdering children, if it's any of that, he's all for it. Yet he still says he's a moderate. Now, Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger ran in 2025 as a moderate and beat her opponent decisively, 15 points. That's pretty decisive. But once she took office, she turned hard left. She championed the most radical gerrymandering in any state. She pushed to turn Virginia into a sanctuary state for illegal alien criminals. A sanctuary state. She can't do. She doesn't have that type of power. But I mean, this is what she wanted and is trying to do. Enact green energy mandates. Well, all right, governors can do that. Sell out state governments to unions. So she is saying, if we can get rid of an agency that's under our control and unionize it, she's all for that. Which I'm going to say, being a union person, that the right to organize, they can do that. So I don't see that as much as I do as her changing the gerrymandering and the sanctuary state. That's as left and socialist as you can get. She's blocking, she wants to block landlords from evicting people. No, you can't evict anyone. So if you're a landlord, you have to take that thing, that person might be there for the next 100 years because you can't evict them. And put abortion and felon voting in the state constitution. Now, again, if it is not in the federal constitution, states can put stuff into their state constitution. And if they want to have abortion and the state legislators vote for it, next time, if you're so against it, you get people to run an agenda that would stop it if elected. If a state legislators say no abortions or make it so unattainable, and you are all for abortions, then you get people to run who are on that agenda, and that's what you do. And the same thing for convicted felons in voting. My feeling on that, and this is me, my party might not go along with it, but I think that when you serve your time, if you have met the burden of your conviction, you are good with the House. Now, some things treason or, and yeah, okay. There are some things that just can't be glossed over. I don't want a sex offender voting for people that want to make sex offending legal. I don't want that. But if you did a crime, you robbed a liquor store, you got caught, you did your time. There was no out on parole and then you could vote or any. You did your time. You're done. You should have all your rights back. And as long as you didn't use a weapon in the crime, you can get the right back to own a weapon. Yeah. Yeah. So, some of those things I don't consider, leftist. Constitution and state rights. Very important. But here's a person that said I'm moderate and she wants to make her state a haven for illegal aliens, criminals. That's not a moderate. Someone has to tell her again what a moderate is. These were the same ideas America said no to with Kamala Harris. The same ideas that turned the House of Representatives red, that kept the Senate red. And what Democrats are doing is they're going more left. You just can't make this stuff up. They're doubling down. You get each candidate, Democratic candidate, wants to be as more liberal and leftist than the next leftist. Thinking that's going to get them, the votes that they need. Because let's be truthful, the leftists and those people vote. The moms and pops, a lot of times they're working, they can't be bothered. They're just not interested in it because it doesn't affect them yet. Which gets me to my next point. And, the Democrats, they shut our airports down, and then they fought that ICE was in the airport, and they caught 800 illegal criminals. And, they tried to stop all that, and that didn't work out well for them. And they should understand that the main things today are the same things that were in 2024. Crime, immigration, and cost of living. Now, I said before, this war has kind of put a kibosh on the economy side, but on the other side of that too, jobs are up. It's not all bad news. It's certainly not good news to have inflation. It's not good news to have $3.60 a gallon gasoline and $5 or $6 or more for diesel fuel that was coming down to $2.99 in a lot of places. So it's a problem, and Trump is going to have to be careful, and the Republicans are going to have to answer and go, why? And give an honest assessment on it. All right. Crime. And I said I don't normally do, things that don't affect every person, like federal crimes or terrorism and things like that. I do terrorism because that does affect every citizen, or could affect every citizen. But in New York today, there was a machete attack by a criminal that had 13 prior arrests. 44 years old and 13 prior arrests. One involving, as the police said it, a sharp object. A pencil? A stick? A toothpick? But 13 prior arrests. The police, this person attacked 3, and they just happen to be senior citizens, on a train platform in Grand Central Station. There's the main level, and then underneath that level is the New York City subway system, and that's where this took place. He was confronted by police who ordered him to put the weapon down. He didn't, and they blasted him, shot him 3 times, and he died. The slasher, as they called him, was identified as Anthony Griffin, and no other information about him except the fact that he had 13 prior arrests, and one for obviously was with a dangerous weapon. They didn't say it, but the police in New York City, they got to be very careful how they put things down now, because you have people like Alvin Bragg that would let this guy out, and I'm sure he'll try to indict the police officers who shot this guy. You wait and see. The mayor thanked the police for taking prompt action. Of course, the loss of life is always sad, blah, 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 blah. But it could have been a lot worse had not the police been there and responded as quickly as they did to the situation and ended it. But you'll have people saying that, this is a fault of the government, not, blah, blah, blah. This is not a police issue. This is a court issue on letting out repeat offenders. Now, you get caught with pot and, boom, yeah, okay. As long as you're not selling it, as long as you're not giving it out at a school, as long as you're not hurting people with it. Oh, he's a repeat offender. All right. I get it. But a person who has been attacking people, robbing people, those are a threat to the general public. That is a quality of life issue. Getting pulled over by the police for having pot, a DUI. Well, you're going to face the consequences for it if that's the case and your state outlaws it or, prohibits it, while you're driving. Well, then you have to face the consequences. But are you a hardened criminal? No, you're not. Now, if you have had accidents and had hurt people before and you're doing it again, well, yeah, we're going to step it up a bit with you. But, repeat offenders, it depends on what they, this was 13 prior arrests for, and 12 of them for vagrancy. Well, yeah, he's a homeless crazy guy. But if you're putting a homeless crazy guy out onto the street, well, the courts aren't doing their job of protecting the public. The police arrest them. That's all the police do. That's their only function. They don't put that person on trial. The police do not put people on trial. The police do not make a judgment call. They just provide the facts as they have seen it and recorded it. And that's it. Then it's up to lawyers, then it's up to the court, and then it's up to the judge, and then it's up to the jury. It's not a police problem. We do not have a problem with our police department when it comes to revolving criminals. It's a problem with our court. It's a problem with the elected district attorneys who are Soros-backed. A lot of these blue states are Soros-backed attorneys, prosecutors, who are pushed with a liberal agenda to put criminals back on the street. Your quality of life is affected by who your district attorney is. And if you don't see that, and if you don't understand it, and I want a district attorney to be fair, and I want him to follow the laws. I demand it. I don't want him to do it. I demand it. I demand that if a defendant has a right, that he's allowed to exercise that right in the jurisdiction and scope of what's allowed under the law. That is a right for all American citizens, and for a lot of people that aren't citizens. In the criminal side, immigration is a civil side. Not too many of those laws apply to you, so you understand it and know it. An attorney does not have to be given to you in a civil matter. That's up to you. So, all right. 43 minutes of this dribble and drab and ranting and raving. As I stated before, and this is just a commentary on, I was not thrilled with President Trump's ultimatum that he would wipe out, a civilization. I understand what he was getting across to the mullahs and ayatollahs and everyone else over there in that regime, who only understand a threat and then the follow-through. I understand what Trump was doing. I didn't like it, but I understood why he did it. And I honestly wish the press would be honest with it and just go, hey, listen, we're dealing with people that set people on fire and burn them in cages and shoot their own people in the street because they won't wear a scarf. So you have to be very straightforward with them and tell them exactly what you're going to do, and then you have to do it. Because if you don't, then your words is just the wind blowing. It doesn't do anything other than blow. So, but I was not thrilled with the way he presented it. It but I think it got their attention. And it got the attention of a lot of other people that we need to get their attention of. That we're not playing games anymore. We're not doing this crap anymore. We're not going to go back to the Biden, Obama, the Bush, the Clinton. We're not doing that. We tried it. We tried it your way. Now we're going to go do it our way. And I get that. And people have to understand that's how it works. All right, everyone, be safe, be well. Please give to a charity if you can give it to a charity, your choice, but just make sure it's a bona fide charity. Don't become a victim trying to help a victim. If you're not comfortable with that, I can certainly understand why you might not be. Please think about giving to a local food bank where you're giving right back to the community. They, of course, want food, but they'll also take monetary donations so that they could use it right where they need it at that moment in time. Please say a prayer. Prayer does work, no matter what a Democrat might tell you. If you want to know why I say that, ask me in a comment. And please, if you've gone this far, like and subscribe, or at least comment. That's fine with me. I get a lot of comments. Some of the comments I've been getting have been great. I mean, it really good referenced comments. They don't have to agree with me. They could bring up other parts and things that, that I might have just touched on but didn't expand on, and they expand on that and give their explanation and their opinion. That is great. That's what this is all about. Let's break bread instead of heads. All right, everyone, be safe as I fade to